Dungeons & Dragons game lore is full of little misunderstandings. Things that feel true, but then once you take a closer look at the game's lore, it reveals the situation's like radically different from our assumptions. You know, things like how tieflings are not half-devils, those are actually called cambions. Like how dragonborn are not half-dragons, those are actually called half-dragons. Somehow succubi and incubi are neither demons nor devils. But my point is, the lore is wild, and occasionally when I, as a player and dungeon master, encounter official Dungeons & Dragons interpretations and content of characters, classes, races, locations, and all that kind of thing, I'll say reading a Forgotten Realms book, or playing a video game, or even watching the content of other YouTubers, just learning, boning up on some lore. Ha! Boning. I'm a child. The point is that occasionally I'll just learn something and my perceptions become shattered. And something like that has just happened to me most recently. I was playing Larian Studios' perpetually in development title Baldurs Gate 3, and a few hours into testing the newly added Wild Magic Sorcerer class, I had to ask myself the title of this video. Are we playing Wild Magic Sorcerers wrong? Now, of course, that framing is intentionally inflammatory. I got to get them clicks, y'all. And I'm firmly of the opinion that there is no wrong way to play Dungeons & Dragons. That is, unless, of course, you play it on a square board using dice for movement with the end goal of acquiring properties and bankrupting your players by charging them rent. Because that's called playing Monopoly, and theoretically there's an easier way to do that, but I digress. Sorcerers, then. So, when 5th edition first came out, I loved the idea of a wild magic sorcerer. I was envisioning a put-upon spellcaster with powers beyond their understanding, plagued by wild magical chaos randomly happening all around them. See my character Calazar, he's an NPC in the Mercs of Mischief show. For the most part, this is the sorcerer I am used to, both as a player and a dungeon master. Either a powerful spellcaster cursed with chaos, or someone who embraces the chaos and runs around madly spouting spells hoping for wildness to go off around them. All that being said, my love for Wild Magic Sorcerers established, I was super excited about making one in Baldurs Gate 3, when the latest patch came out and it became available. However, this led me to some incredible revelations. So, I guess minor spoilers ahead for Baldur's Gate 3. I'll make an edit. I'll put the number up right now on where you have to go to spare yourself with that. But, spoiler warning. Wee! Alright, moving along. So, this all began in the Blighted Village area. There's this destroyed town, and there's a destroyed alchemist shop, and hidden beneath the alchemist shop is an old wizard's laboratory. Now, in order to gain access to this wizard's laboratory, there is an Enchanted Mirror that you must speak with. The Enchanted Mirror will ask you a series of questions, and then, if you get all the answers correct, the mirror will recognize you as an ally and allow you entry. Now, I had played through this portion of the game as a wizard, and kind of expected my sorcerer's interactions to be roughly the same. Imagine my surprise when I found unique dialogue options with this magical mirror. It seemed that my character identified the magic in the mirror as a kind of living being, rather than this kind of recorded power that was just interacting like, a set of recorded responses or an inanimate security system. And my responses reflected that. And in fact, at the end, during the mirror's last question, my sorcerer was able to ask if the mirror would like to be broken and the magic within freed. And the mirror's response kind of floored me, because the mirror said, "No, this is the only life I have ever known. But thank you. You are the only one who thought enough to ask." So, already, this put me 100% into this interpretation of the sorcerer. But it gets better from there. So in the same place, we find a necromantic tome. So this necromantic tome has been stashed away. Classic Necronomicon look, has a screaming face on the front, bound in human flesh, inked in blood, and it's got bones on the spine. The spine is a spine. Anyway, the spine is the spine. So I get this book, and I was ready for this book, man. I had gone through this before on other characters and screwed it up, and I wanted to get the magic out of this book. So the way it works mechanically is you open the book, and if you can make it through a series of checks to make the book, not drive you insane or force you to close it, you can gain spells, necromantic spell powers from it. I open the book with my sorcerer character, only to find that I have more unique dialogue options. And I'm like, I gotta go down this rabbit hole. I can't just let this go. So I choose the unique dialogue options. And to make a long story short, what happens is my sorcerer character recognizes the magic in the book as wild magic that has been bound to this tome and driven insane by having been used for necromantic magic, and that the magic inside the tome seeks to spread that madness to others because it is in pain and it is suffering. And at this point, as a player, I have been made to empathize with the magic in a book, and I love it. I love every part of it. So I went through and I did the checks in this way, and my sorcerer calmed the magics in the book until they went to sleep, soothed them, and then the book was sealed forever and would not spread its necromancy and madness through the world. After these interactions were done, I was questioning everything about sorcerers. I had just empathized with a magic mirror and a necromantic tome like they were wounded animals, and I was loving every second of it. And it never in a million years of dungeon mastering or playing these characters would I have thought to do these interactions in this way. So I found this all absolutely amazing. First thing I did is I went back to the player's handbook and started reading through the sorcerer, and there wasn't a whole lot there that led me to believe that this is maybe something that we just missed, like the tiefling thing or the dragonborn thing, something that people just gloss over and don't recognize. This is just how the game has chosen to interpret sorcerers. And I gotta say, I love it. I love the idea of a sorcerer as a kind of magical naturalist. So your wild magic sorcerer has the wild magic going off around them, but it's just the sorcerer allowing magic to be wild and free as its natural state. So when a wild magic sorcerer sees magic bound to tomes or magical items or enchanted objects, it's like encountering an animal in captivity, a caged or chained up animal in the wild, or that should be in the wild, and then, rehabilitating them and soothing them and trying to help restore them to their natural wild state. Kind of like the dog whisperer, but for magic. It was an incredible scene. The idea that a sorcerer can be this kind of magical naturalist, this kind of person who goes out into the world and rehabilitates wild magics that have been confined and abused in ways by people that don't understand them, adds an entirely new dimension to this type of character. And I, for one, am 100% on board. Thank you, Larian Studios. Thank you for giving me this new twist on the sorcerer. I look forward to using it in the future. And for the rest of you, the next time you decide to roll up a wild magic sorcerer, consider with thought what that sorcerer's relationship is to the magic around them. How do they feel about it? How do they empathize with the wild magic, and how do they communicate with the magic that they encounter? There are endless possibilities to this. Imagine a scenario in which your sorcerer goes into a dungeon, encounters a magically enchanted trap, and rather than disarming it or dispelling it, communicates with the magic inside the trap and soothes it until the trap becomes inert. Isn't that incredible? Isn't that an amazing interaction? So I highly recommend taking this up and trying it out on your players. Check it with some parties. I imagine it'll blow some minds. In the end, nothing else to say except thank you, Larian Studios, for expanding my perceptions. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.